This episode is brought to you by the European Co-working Assembly. We are everything Co-working Europe. If you head to the Co-working Assembly website, you can connect with our World Co-working, European Freelancers Week, Co-working Symposium, Co-working Library, and Co-working Tools.
Hi, this is Igor from Andcards, Ukrainian Co-working Association. I've been living about half of my life outside Ukraine, although I'm originally Ukrainian. The last several years I've spent as a digital nomad, moving between different countries. And I've been in co-working since 2017.
Igor, before going to the co-working topic, I would love to learn more about your personal story. Could you share something with us?
Multicultural, multi-ethnic, perhaps this, the person, the citizen of the world, how they say, perhaps some of the terms that describe me well. Since 2008, I've been living outside Ukraine. I've been traveling around, kind of looking for myself, for my truth. Working in a corporation, then moved slowly over to entrepreneurship. So I started my own company, Andcards. And throughout my life, I've actually always been fascinated by technology, by how it impacts our day-to-day life. Specifically, the interfaces, the software part of it that connects, the organic consciousness with the machines, with technology. I've always loved how it's built, how it simplifies our day-to-day experience, how it helps humans evolve even, towards better selves. So somewhere on this journey, I realized that a part of what I could really do to impact, what change I could bring, is to help build a better workplace, better work life for people. So that all precipitated into Andcards, co-founding Andcards, building a platform to kind of make it easy to manage and use the co-working space. And then, along this journey, I've also discovered a lot of amazing instruments and people and communities that were on the same train with me. Specifically at the Ukrainian Co-working Association, like the Vika and many other people in Ukraine who are so inspired by co-working, and they're basically building this the better experience, work-life experience for all of us. So I joined there, and that became my second hobby, we can call it like this.
Absolutely. Igor, there's something that you mentioned that captured my attention. When you were going through this process of exploration and traveling, you were looking for yourself. What did you find?
I think just like this podcast, is called Co-working Values. I think I was looking for some values that are important for me in my life. What defines me as a person? What is important for me? What is important for societies, and what causes I believe in. So I think throughout these journeys, I found my values, right? Something that I laid as a foundation of my company. For example, when we just started Andcards back in 2017, we immediately decided to make the company remote first. Before it became popular, we wrote a public handbook that is still publicly available on our website, where we talk about transparency, responsibility, honesty, tolerance, these kind of values that are not typically, a part of a business model, but is something that is important to us as human beings and societies. So I think throughout this travels, that's perhaps the most important outcome of that is like defining these values and precipitating them into something that is more tangible, something that can where others can join, and something that can actually be instrumental in promoting these values.
When you're not working, what else do you like doing?
I'm just like a normal human being, like all of us. So I love travels, love good food, love reading, watching movies. But to be honest, for me, even what I mentioned earlier, the software, the apps, the interfaces, the technology is probably the number one thing that is like basically where my thoughts are, where my heart is. So I'm all about that. When you're doing, especially your own business as an entrepreneur, it is often hard to draw a line between your personal life and what you like as a person and your business and your work, right? For me, it's like one big thing. This is all life for me, right? This is all my personal interest.
Now that we know more about your personal story and your values, right? So I would love to know, how did you end up in the world of co-working?
I think on the one hand, it's the discovery of the physical concept, of course, of co-working. I distinctly remember the first time I ended up at a co-working space back in 2016. It was just like people would describe the benefits of co-working, basically. Spending most of my time in the coffee shop, realizing it's too noisy, too much people, and then ending up like looking for some better place to work in and something that is more flexible, something that is more open. So yeah, I ended up at a co-working space, and I loved it. But learning more into the concept, into this phenomenon as a co-working, I realized that this is also something that is very close to me, and in terms of uh, the system of values, right, and how it's built. The idea of like co-working, community, collaboration. This is just so great to build on, create value out of it. So it kind of resonated with me on multiple dimensions, the physical and just emotional, and I loved it. Yeah. Ever since discovering the concept of co-working, I've been only at co-working spaces. never failed to choose it.
So now that we have clear how your personal life connects with the world of co-working, can you tell us something more about Andcards?
Yeah, Andcards as a platform. It's all about co-working, of course, because it's a platform for co-working spaces to make it easy to manage and for their members to use it. So our customers are co-working spaces, and I remember counting that from the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey with Andcards and the foundation, I've personally met with over 1,000 spaces. Um, yeah, so I've had an honor and like a pleasure of connecting with so many spaces and learning about this from so many sources that, and with every drop, it made me even more confident that this is something that I love, something that I want to contribute to.
Igor, I'm curious to know, what's your definition for co-working?
I think that first and foremost, the co-working is the system of values. A lot of people tend to define it as something related to physical space or something about the collaboration within communities. But I believe it's more like a philosophy, to be honest. As one of the co-working founders that I met in Poland said, it's a state of mind rather than like a business. So I believe this is a value system. Community, of course, the openness, collaboration, inclusivity. These are all the values that are part of it. And I also believe that co-working, is actually a potential answer to a lot of issues we have in the world. If we treat it as a more general kind of philosophy, because in such a polarized societies, people always tend to draw a line. This is mine and this is yours. Or the worst happens is when I decide that yours is mine, right? And vice versa. And then the concept of co-working is actually when you say, this is ours. I don't know, like an attempt at co-owning co-sharing, right? And then like cooperating over something. Instead of me saying yours is mine, I will say I'll invest in yours. I'll become I'll help you develop. So I think the co-working is actually an answer to a lot of problems we have in the world when it comes to this polarization and divisiveness. I believe that this concept of ours, it scales from the smallest, the tiniest bits of our life to like who is this cup belongs to, all the way to like a greater major issues we are facing in our societies, like the war in Ukraine, the causes of it, right, or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as well. It's when people are drawing these lines basically and claiming it's to be theirs, right? So it's incredible to think that a concept of our, if it could be scaled to all the way from the tiniest bits of our life to the greatest problems of society, perhaps it could be a good answer to how to build a better society.
That's such a fascinating idea. I'm trying to imagine what happens if all the businesses or most of the companies in the world start transforming, following the methodology from co-working spaces to give ownership to their members, right? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, and for example, a lot of companies, they practice employee share ownership program for that purpose, right? But they tend to make it so complicated. they make it so complicated and so hard to understand and join, right? Instead of actually giving people this chance to become a part of basically almost like a shareholder of your company. This is something we try to practice in my company as well, to kind of like simplify things, to make people more involved. I mean, like on all levels, really. Like this philosophy, I think it permeates and dictates all kinds of decisions we make in our life.
Now that we have an amazing vision and definition of co-working, I would like to go back to the ground and to ask you about what is your experience with the Ukrainian Co-working Association and what is going on in Ukraine with the war in terms of co-working.
I would say that a few things. If when they say time is relative to the observer, right? Well, if we were observers in the Ukraine right now, it would almost feel like we're inside a black hole. The time is so fast. It feels like we lived through 2 years in the last 2 months. So everything is just so much faster. And I didn't realize that until it actually happened. Vika, a president of the Ukrainian Co-working Association, she likes to say that the war became our hackathon. So we basically hacked into the global co-working movement, and we hacked into the Ukrainian even Co-working Association, because it has become such a unifying factor for all of us there in Ukraine, as well as our participation in the European Co-working Assembly and all kinds of projects like the Co-working Idea project. Is just like it's been so much faster. Even from the point of view of technology adoption, when people lived through, I would say that before the war, I would say only maybe like 3 out of 10 spaces had like a strong online infrastructure or like the payments infrastructure. But once this happened and the spaces realized the need for like being more kind of need to accept donations or be able to give members ability to book online, 10 out of 10 signed up. So everything accelerated. Everything became so much faster. That's one thing that I realized and observed during this. Another is quite important, kind of going back to the co-working as a system of values. I think I realized, and everyone in Ukrainian Co-working Association realized, that the values of co-working are the same everywhere. In Ukraine, in Europe, in Peru, in all over the world. And that's the fact that the Ukrainian Co-working Association already joined the European Co-working Assembly so fast, and the way that we managed to connect and with the incredible human beings that were so helpful to supporting the Ukrainian Co-working. I mean, Janine, Bernie, you, Jose, of course, and Ashley from Co-working Idea, Hector from Synchro, Piotr, this is amazing support we got, and we are so grateful to them. And we realized at the Ukrainian Co-working Association that these values that we share are the same all over the world. Even between unlikely allies, or in some countries competing companies like Andcards with some other co-working platforms. I've had some amazing conversations with their founders on LinkedIn, for example, when the war broke out, and our companies immediately put up a press release and called on all the co-working tech companies, including our competitors, to maybe support Ukraine, see the process in Russia. I did not expect to get such an overwhelmingly positive response from everyone. It was really amazing, and I think this is because a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, a lot of people, they have reevaluated their values. They basically kind of reflected upon the values that they had as this has been happening. They thought, what's important for them, right? How can we promote what's important? And I think this played a huge role in kind of unifying Ukraine with Europe, the rest of the world, around what around what's important, and kind of standing up against this bullying, protecting the innocent people. This has just been an incredible experience, and we'll learn a lot from this.
I honestly believe that what is going on in Ukraine is a defining moment in our history. Therefore, is a defining moment in what we do about our future, about how we want to live. We know from previous wars that after a war it's possible to create lasting peace and reconciliation and reconstruction. And I hope that we all take this opportunity to make this world a better place. What can we do? I'm talking about the global community of co-working spaces to support Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian reconstruction.
First of all, I absolutely agree that reconstruction, recovery are basically the light in the end of the tunnel. If co-working is all about right? Co-owning, collaboration, doing together, right? What's next for Ukraine, I think, is all about reconstructing, rebuilding, renaissance, right? Basically. So I believe that you are right. Doing everything to win the war, doing everything to relieve for innocent people is, I think, the most important right now. Of course, first is taking a stance, defining the values. A lot of businesses are motivated by money, by accounting, by finance. So for them, it is harder to take a stance. Of course, when you have thousands of shareholders, venture capital behind your back, you have to always turn around and be guided by what they think. And not everyone has the same values. So that's been one of the advantages that we have here at Andcards, because we've always built the company around sustainability, kind of being self-reliant. So we can afford ourselves the luxury of standing up with the values that we think are important to our families, to our coworkers, to our customers. And, as the president of Ukraine said once, the light will win over the darkness. So it's really about what side you're on. Another, of course, which I believe is quite important, is to mobilize your communities that you are building, you are a part of. Co-working communities are just such a powerful things. They're full of people who really believe in something. And I believe that mobilizing these communities could be really helpful and instrumental to winning this war. For example, mobilizing them to join the various initiatives that Ukrainian Co-working Association put together with the European Co-working Assembly, like the Syncaro-backed the Within Ukraine project, which gathers support for Ukrainian co-working communities. We've all heard about this case that people on Airbnb have been booking apartments in Ukraine in the affected cities to support the house owners. Pretty much, we could demonstrate that the sharing economy has its bright side as well by going on Upflex and booking a desk on some of the affected co-working spaces in Ukraine. Just spending $25 on supporting them once may, to some, feel like a drop in an ocean. But really, every dollar counts now, and that $25 can save somebody's life. It may feel like a drop in an ocean, but what is an ocean if not a million of drops?
Dear Igor, thank you very much for your wisdom, for sharing your story, and for all the effort that you and your team are doing to support Ukrainian people in these times of distress and war. As Anastasia said once, right now we are all Ukrainians. So no borders, no nationalities. We start watching our world as we, not anymore as I. And that's very much the spirit of co-working. Thank you. Big hug for you, for yours, and hope to see you soon in real life.